Airline 544, Roger. I do have a primary contact now.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming this morning. My name is Ray Bowyer, and I fly a civilian airliner as captain. I've been invited here due to my sighting last April of multiple, as yet unidentified objects over the Channel Islands region of the English Channel.
Thanks for joining us. Pilots and aircraft passengers have confirmed sightings of a large unidentified flying object off the coast of Guernsey. The mysterious shapes were spotted earlier in the week and are described as a long, motionless object that measured up to a mile wide.
Airline 544, zone pass message.
Do you have any traffic, can't really say how far, but by 12 o'clock level? Roger, I've got a very bright object, well, it doesn't say how far, extremely bright, yellow-orange object, straight ahead, very flat platform. I'm looking at it through binoculars as we speak.
Airline 544, Roger. I do have a primary contact now, very faint primary contact, just to the left, approximately 11 o'clock this time, in a range of about 4 trap miles.
Roger. I've got a definite contact by 12 o'clock. Very bright yellow object looking, well, like a cigar.
Jersey Bladder 832, the zone asked us to look if we could see an object which is being seen by A-line at the moment. We've got something about 8 o'clock resembling the description.
Roger, and 832, Roger, what range would you estimate that target?
Around about the similar range to Alderney from us now.
Well, looking through binoculars as I am now, there's a second one just appeared behind the first one from where I am. Roger 544, just confirming that all the passengers can see this aircraft. I've got the island visual, it's dead ahead, can't say how far, probably 5 miles, but it's staying the same size. Looks to be off the north-northwest coast of Alderney.
Airline 544, Roger. Would you like descent?
Please, I better go down, I think.
Airline 544, Roger. Descend to altitude 2,000 feet. The QNH is 1021.
2,000 feet, 1021. It's very plain to see from where I am now, without any binoculars.
Were you scared?
I wasn't too happy, put it that way. I was quite glad to get on the ground and have a cup of tea.
We flew to Guernsey, an island off the northwest coast of France, to get some first-hand testimony where the sighting took place. Here, we met with Captain Ray Bowyer and 2 of his passengers.
We're travelling back from Southampton to Alderney in a Trilender. I had noticed Ray looking out through the windscreen with his binoculars, which is quite unusual.
I saw Ray turn around and talk to someone behind him while we were flying. Now, it wasn't worrying from the standpoint of flying, but it was unusual. And he was gesturing to something down below.
On nearing the object, a second identical shape appeared beyond the first. Both objects were of a flattened disc shape with a dark area to the right. They were brilliant yellow with light emanating from within, and I estimated them to be up to possibly a mile across.
I pointed it out to John. He had to lean across me to be able to see it.
It was like that.
This was a big object in the sky, very, very big object, and I didn't want to be too close to it. So it was at that time anyway where we had to descend to land, and with both objects still visible and to a lot of the passengers in the back of the aircraft, we descended through the 2,000-foot haze layer and lost sight of it.
So Ray, why didn't you bring this to the attention of your passengers? I mean, normally when a pilot sees something of interest, he says, if you look out to your left, you'll see...
Yeah, New York.
Right, you know what I mean?
It was a little bit far away from me. Well, it was, I didn't want to alarm anybody at that point. There again, as we got closer to these objects, there was no hiding it. They were just there. Taken note of some of the differences between the British and the US reporting system. It appears that attitudes on opposite sides of the Atlantic are very different when it comes to the required reporting and recording of this type of event. I would have been shocked if I was told that the CIA in UK would obstruct an investigation, or if the CIA told me that what I had seen was something entirely different. But it seems that pilots in America are used to this sort of thing here.
I returned home from Guernsey to find a DVD sent to me from Salida, Colorado. Listen carefully to the 6-year-old girl who points out a UFO to her dad.
Dad, can a spaceship grow bigger like that? Huh? Huh?
Uh-huh.
It could.
I'm not sure what the sounds are, but the object reminds me of what Ray and his passengers described seeing.
It moved over that part of the sky there. It probably moved 500, it probably moved 100 miles in a matter of a second or two.
These up there now, you know. You see that now? See that big one? See it going? Do you see it? Oh, you can't see it.
I can't see it with this.
My name is Jean-Charles Duboc. I am a retired Air France captain. During Air France flight 3532 from Nice to London on 28 January 1994, I observed with my crew a UFO in broad daylight near Paris. And it looked like this, with a bank angle of 45 degrees. It seemed to be a huge flying disc. It stabilized and stopped moving. It was about 1,000 feet wide. The most incredible aspect is that it became transparent and disappeared in about 10 to 20 seconds. My co-pilot, Chief Steward, and I quickly realized that what we were seeing didn't resemble anything known to us, and we reported our sighting to Reims Traffic Control.
There is a crew of 3 persons plus radar correlation at the same time, not the same place but the same time, and that means that we have had something real over Paris one day, a huge thing.
Good evening. Last week, several people in Stephenville, Texas, a small rural town of about 15,000, 70 miles southwest of Fort Worth, witnessed what many are calling a UFO. James Fox, I know you've been probing this for a long time. We've never got an answer to this. Why do you think the Air Force doesn't want this out?
Well, I mean, what are they going to say? We don't know what's flying around in our airspace with impunity.
Why can't they say that?
I think that possibly could. I wish they would. If the Air Force is listening tonight, why don't you tell us the truth?
Well, I came in on Tuesday night a week and a half ago, started down the driveway, and I looked back here to the southwest, just past the windmill. So I'd say maybe 5 miles away, there was a real bright light came on, and it was almost as bright as like a welding arc. One of the guys that was at my house that night called up and said that he wasn't coming back to my house until we got armed guards. And I said, why is that? And he said, well, there was a UFO flew over your house Tuesday night. I said, I saw it.
I was so distracted by what I saw that you could have had a train go in front of me and I wouldn't probably heard it, because I was so focused on these lights. But I do not remember hearing any noise at all whatsoever.
How would you describe the acceleration?
Probably the speed of light. And I tried keeping up with my binoculars and I couldn't.
This case, so far, qualifies for that 5%. The lack of sound, the speed of the object, and apparently the military's interest.
There were two jets coming from that direction this way, and I did hear the jets.
You know, we're used to seeing military aircraft in our skies here in this area. We're used to seeing, you know, the helicopters and the fighter jets and the C-130s, and I mean, we know what those look like.
By the way,
so,
when it comes to military aircraft, I am a trained observer, so.
Whatever that's supposed to mean.
Whatever that means, right? Why don't we take another break here? We're visiting with James Fox, filmmaker in town, doing research on the UFOs and interviews. We'll take a break. We're back right after this.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Dublin.
In Dublin, the whole town showed up to discuss this sighting.
My name is Steve Hudgens. I'm senior field investigator for MUFON. We're down here to investigate this extraordinary event.
It was going so fast and it didn't make any noise that lights seemed to be streaming and breaking around it.
Then 10 minutes later it came back by, and that's when it had the two military jets chasing it.
I've been a witness to this and give you all the information I can.
You don't want to come forward and say anything because they'll say, oh, they're an idiot, because I've thought that before until I saw this.
I'll guarantee you the jet, whoever's flying the jets, they had a visual on it.
It was incredible. I listened to many witnesses and then went to the editors of the local paper where this story first broke.
Headlines. I mean, these are all headlines.
Angela Joyner saw me on CNN the night before and assumed I had all the answers.
Major Carl Lewis at Carswell, I've talked to him a lot, and he said something of this size would leave a sonic footprint much like what we know as a tornado path. It would just demolish things on the ground. Why don't we see that?
I have no idea.
That's a good answer.
Angela and local radio station Mandatory FM introduced me to Ricky Sorrells. We had a drink at the local bar where he agreed to meet with me the following day.
All these aircraft in the area, they wouldn't normally be flying.
They told me that Ricky had seen a lot more than lights in the sky.
Hey, we can close that door, kiddo. I used to think that people that saw this and came on camera and said this kind of stuff, I thought, man, these guys need some help, you know? But it happened to me, and I can't change that. I had a hard time dealing with it, but...
So you looked out all the way in that direction, you didn't see the edge?
Looking up, Ricky said he could not see the edge of the craft in any direction.
You couldn't see the edge of it?
Couldn't see the edge of it. But I do know this, it's bigger. You could have landed an airplane on that, I believe.
God, it's an incredible story.
Nothing, no sound, no when it was hovering, nothing when it moved from left to right, and nothing when it took off. And
holding his rifle and sometimes actually looking through his scope, Ricky stood under the craft for about 3 minutes.
I don't know if you've ever been in that situation, but
no, I certainly haven't.
I've been in it only very few times in my life, but I had to slow my mind down to actually think about what to do with it, the information that I was receiving for the first time. And that's what I did. I studied it. You know, I seen no nuts, bolts, rivets, seams, no welds, none of this. It looked like a piece of sheet metal. You know, it wasn't shiny. It was a dull, I don't know what you call it, matte finish maybe. And this is what I had a hard time with, was if something was to leave, in my mind, it should pivot up and go, like an airplane would. This did not do that. This stayed completely flat, and it went at a 45-degree angle away. And it took off at such a high rate of speed that no way I can describe it as if I would have blinked. I would have thought it just disappeared.
On January 21st, 2008, Robert Powell and Glenn Schultz received radar data from the FAA. This image was created directly from that data. Each black dot, and there were over 140, represent radar confirmation of an unknown object whose flight path is seen heading towards Crawford Ranch.
I just want to know what it is. You know, why was it here? What was it? Is it ours? You know, that kind of thing.
Although the military initially denied being in the area, the official explanation from the Air Force is now a flight of F-16s. After each witness I meet, I find it increasingly difficult to accept the military's response.
I've actually stepped back and tried to view the big picture. I would like to find out what it is. And if people believe me, okay. If they don't, that's okay too.